We have an update on the future of Malik Beasley. A pair of Pelicans also could be up for trade. And we'll also do a brief overview of this Pistons season so far in just a moment. Welcome back to the Pistons Jack YouTube channel. We have an action-packed episode for you today. We are without Pistons games until Friday when they play the Hawks. So we have 5 days, I believe, until then, depending on what time you're watching this. And we are going to talk some trade stuff, the future of Malik Beasley. And to begin this show, though, I wanted to just take a moment while we are at essentially the quarter mark of the season with the Pistons. They have played 24 games of 82. They are first in the East at 19-5. We had a 13-game winning streak, equal best in franchise history. They have a top 10 offense, a top 5 defense, 6th in net rating. And I just wanted to take a couple of minutes just to kind of zoom out and just appreciate how good this team has been this season. And we're obviously doing a daily show like this where I recap pretty much every game. And we're on here talking about the team all the time. It can be easy to get bogged down on and stuck in the moment. And there's certainly things this team needs to tweak to continue to improve and get to that true championship status of like an OKC or a Denver. But as far as like it goes in the Eastern Conference, the Pistons truly are the best team in the conference. Now, some will still say the Cavs are, they have the most talent. A lot of that has to do with how they looked last season because they are almost back fully healthy now, maybe without Strus, and I think they're like 7th or 8th in the conference. They're around 500. The Knicks have they've gotten better since a bit of a slow start. They're 2nd in the conference. But honestly, the Pistons, even with recent losses to the Magic and Celtics, who the Celtics in particular have looked really good late. I think they're up to 3rd seed. The Pistons have beaten the Rockets on the road. They're 2-0 against the Hawks. We beat the Magic. We beat the Celtics in that winning streak. We're beating the Bucks 2-1. Like, not that they're that good anymore, but I feel like some will continue to say, "Oh, they've just had an easy schedule," but we've beaten. I think we've won our last 5 games against Western Conference teams. The Pistons are pretty much beating whoever's in front of them, and there's some things to fix up. But there's a couple of players I wanted to just take a moment to appreciate, and it starts with Cade. This guy is truly playing at like an all-NBA first team level with how good the team is looked and as the leader of the best team in the East. And yes, he's in a bit of a downstride recently, but he has just been phenomenal. I think he's basically at 28 a game, 9 assists, 6.5 rebounds, a steal. I feel like his defense has gone up even another notch this year. Of course, there's times where he gets caught off ball, but you know, when you have the usage he has, for the effort he gives at both ends every night, I think he's exceptional. And I think defensively, he's had some huge moments this year, whether it's chase down blocks, some on-ball reps, some weak side recovery blocks. Like, this guy just does it all. And he might have a few too many turnovers one game, or his 3-point shot still hasn't kind of clicked. But I kind of look at that as like, wow, he can get even better. We're only in year 5. And I've said this a lot the past 2 years, or the past season and a half, since the team's really taken off. Like, the Cade we're seeing now, I truly didn't think we would see to like year 7 and 8 when he's in like his absolute athletic prime. That's when year 7, 8, 9 is when these players typically hit their absolute peak. And the version we have of him now, at least with the numbers and the stats and the skill level, like, I truly think I wasn't expecting him to be this good early. And it's still sometimes like when I step back and just kind of zoom out, it's like, wow, we truly have a superstar. He's getting the signature shoe. So everything starts with him. He's an exceptional leader and the perfect guy for the face of the franchise. And then another player, I can't go too much on without mentioning Jalen Duren. Another guy who recently has kind of just dipped a little bit with teams kind of figuring out how to defend him a bit better. But overall, he's pretty much giving you 19 to 20 points a night, 12 boards. I think he's at basically a block a game, a steal a game almost. And the free throw, he's got getting to the free throw line a ton. Like, he is still, if the All-Star game was tomorrow, he would most likely be an All-Star. Even with his dip in play a little bit recently, like his second half yesterday against the Bucks was huge, and hopefully he can continue to build from that. But he might not be that number 2 option that we thought earlier in the year, but like he's an all-star type talent now. And if he can keep this up and really cement himself as that type of player, then not only is he going to get paid, but the Pistons have a guy to go along Cade for the next 6 to 7 years. So he's been awesome. I have to mention Duncan Robinson. We saw after a bit of a slow start for him in the preseason and especially opening night, he has just been lights out as a shooter. And we saw in those 2 games he was absent where the Pistons just beat the Hawks and lost to a Giannis-less Bucks, essentially, like how important he is to the offense. And the Pistons probably do need another shooter. That's what Duncan has kind of shown, I think, in his absence. But when he's been on the court, this team is a different team. I spoke about it on one of our episodes recently about how the Pistons have the second best offense team-wise when he's on the court. And then when he's off the court, the Pistons offense is at its worst. And it's a crazy differential. It's like a 14-point difference when he's on and off. So he's been awesome. Well worth the 3 years. I think 40-something million they signed and traded him for. Fontecchio, I think, is out of the rotation now for the Heat. No shade to him, but there was a lot of comps between those two to start the year. And I think Duncan's head and shoulders above what Fontecchio gave. And that he was never brought in to replace him. But I remember just seeing Pistons people constantly compare the two. And Duncan's just been exceptional. And then I just have to quickly shout out Isaiah Stewart and Asar Thompson. All defense type seasons. And I think Asar, particularly offensively, has taken some strides this year, especially when he's got a bit more usage. So those two have been exceptional as well. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on the start of the season. I'm obviously incredibly happy, and still when I see that they're 19-5 and have the best record in the East and the second best record in the whole league, it's kind of insane. So at the quarter mark, they have to get an A. If I had to put a grade on it, it's pretty much an A to an A+. Like, I didn't expect them to start this season this well. I thought they'd win 48 games this year. 50 for me was like the tops, I thought, and they're well on pace to break that. So we'll see what happens. It's still early, but I wanted to just do a very brief recap, and I'd love to hear your thoughts below. Now, second part of the show, we're going to talk some player movement stuff. This news was brought to my attention earlier today in one of the group chats, and Malik Beasley apparently is close to signing a deal with a team over in the EuroLeague. I think it's Partisan might be the name. I believe that's in the EuroLeague. Apparently he's potentially signing for $2 million for the next 6 months. So with the investigation still looming in no NBA teams, well, teams technically can sign him, but it doesn't make a lot of sense with the investigation going on. It seems like this EuroLeague team's seen an opportunity to bring in an elite basketball player globally, one of the best shooters in the world, and they're willing to take the risk to sign him. So I'm not sure how the investigation works. I believe even if he's guilty, he just can't play in the NBA. So maybe there's not that much risk here. They're just looking to capitalize on him not being able to play in the NBA right now. And yeah, apparently he's close to signing it. So that'd be very interesting. The Beasley talk amongst Pistons fans has died down a little bit just because of the team's success in recent weeks. Obviously, if Malik was cleared, I think adding his type of shooting is the kind of the missing piece for this team right now. But it seems like Malik, and understandably, is going to go sign, play some basketball overseas, and then hopefully be ready to go for a new NBA season if he's all cleared at the end of this year, around October. So best of luck to him. And I'm glad to see he can go hoop somewhere else, because regardless of what you think of the outcome of that investigation, it would just suck not being able to play and just have to constantly every day anxiously wait for some outcome, because he's right in the prime of his career, like 28, 29 years old. That's literally right when you want to be hitting your stride as a player and making probably beyond the biggest deal you might sign. So the timing of this is horrible for Malik from an NBA standpoint, but yeah, nice to see he could at least get a payday playing basketball around the world somewhere. So we'll see what happens. That still isn't official. It's more of a report that he's nearing a deal. So best of luck to Malik. Then finally, I wanted to close out the show discussing a couple of mock trades for each of these New Orleans Pelicans wings in Trey Murphy III and Herb Jones. Now, this comes off the back of Jake Fischer from the Steinline, noting in one of his recent articles that the Pelicans are at least willing to show some interest in listening to trade offers for Herb Jones and Trey Murphy. So the Pelicans obviously struggling desperately. They put together a roster to win this season, but obviously that's not really happening. I haven't checked their record of late, but I know they're in the bottom three of the West. And they have Jeremiah Fears, Derek Queen, who they recently drafted. Zion, I believe, is back out. I mean, it sounds like this doesn't mean they're shopping them. It doesn't mean they're actively shopping these two, but it means they're willing to listen to offers. So Trey Murphy is the better talent of the two. He's 25 years old, and he's currently in he's got 4 years, $112 million remaining, and he's on about $25 million this season. So he's pretty much some top line stats: 21 points a game, just under 7 rebounds, 3.5 assists, a steal and a half per game on 47% from the field, 36% from three on nearly 8 attempts. So pretty ideal fit on this Pistons team if he is truly available. We will discuss Herb Jones in a moment, but some people have mentioned Michael Porter Jr. as a better target, or maybe a more gettable target, and he's been playing really well with the Nets. I think the thing with MPJ is more like the defensive side of the ball. Trey Murphy is definitely better on the defensive side of the ball. He's more athletic. MPJ is a bit more like stiffer, and while he's probably a better shot maker and scorer than Trey, he's just not the most fluid type athlete, especially on the defensive end. So Trey gives you that two-way type impact. And whilst I think he's more of a 3 on this Pistons team, he would probably be a starting 4. Now, he's only on $25 million a year. So a guy, Carl Metz, over on Twitter, at KarlMetz23, go follow him, proposed this potential trade to the Pelicans. You have Karis LeVert for salary, Marcus Sasser. Hopefully Troy Weaver might want his point guard back, or his combo guard back he drafted in 23. And then a trio of first round picks unprotected. Now, so in terms of players, you would be keeping your whole core, but you're giving up a lot of draft assets. And the reason the picks are spaced every 2 years is because you can't trade first round picks in consecutive years. So that's why it's 26, 28, 30. Giving up 3 unprotected first scares me a little bit, but you're also keeping all of your young core. You're not even giving up Tobias Harris here, which I think culture-wise and what he can bring you, he would probably come off the bench in this setup if you bring in Trey, but you would have a very deep roster. I would probably do that, to be honest. Now, what do the Pelicans do that? Remains to be seen, because none of those picks, those firsts, are going to be really high, and they're probably looking to recoup some trade assets after losing a key pick this past draft. So I would do that as a Pistons fan. The picks thing scares me a little bit, but with how young our team is and where they would project to be with adding a Trey Murphy, I think it'd be a pretty good team, and those picks aren't as valuable as they seem right now. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. And then finally, Herb Jones. He's a couple of years older. He's 27 years old. He's also like a 3-4. He's around, both him and Trey are like 6'7", maybe 6'8" on a good day. But Herb is definitely more defensively minded, has a crazy long wingspan. He's averaging 10 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal and a half per game. He's only shooting 39% from the field, but over half his attempts come from 3, which he's at 36% on around 4.5 attempts. So this would be more leaning right into the defensive aspect. I'm probably not as interested in Herb. Whilst what Kyle has here to give up is Marcus Sasser, as well as 2 firsts, 26 and 28. That one, giving up a couple of firsts for Herb, probably scares me a little bit. Even though Herb Jones would help this team, I just don't think his shot is the most reliable, and he's awesome on defense, but I think the Pistons are pretty good for defense on the wings. Like, we have Rom, We have Asar, clearly. And then we have Stu, who can play a lot of, potentially some backup minutes at the 4. I think Herb would help this team, don't get me wrong. I'm just not sure I'm ready to remove multiple unprotected firsts for him. But I can 100% see where Kyle's coming from with this trade. And I don't think you could just swap Karis LeVert for Herbs Jones. Like, I don't think they'd be interested in that over in New Orleans. So those are my thoughts. The reason I like Trey Murphy better is because of all the stuff you get offensively, and he can hold his own defensively. Like, kind of a true two-way player, which is incredibly value at his size in today's NBA. But let me know your thoughts on those trades. Like I said, these two aren't being aggressively shopped. Apparently the Pelicans are just listening to offers, and I think Trey Murphy really does fit and fill a need for this team right now and in future. But thank you so much for watching. We'll be back with as much content as possible this week, in a week with no games. So stick with me. Thank you again, and as always, go Pistons.